Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Welcome to the Ballology app Ultimate Demo. Trusted by leaders in the game. Ballology is a player development platform built for coaches and players alike. You can expect live shot tracking, workout libraries, and AI insights. You can easily chart team shooting drills in practice or in training sessions. Track all of those shots using an iPhone or an Android device in real time. You can view your team's performance through a video archive or by using our shot charts. After every shooting workout, take a look at your breakdown by viewing your percentages and your shot locations. Let's take a deeper look to learn how to make the most out of the Ballology app. Let's see how you measure up in the Ballology Skills Assessment, where you can test your shooting skills versus other shooters worldwide. Navigate to Ballology AI, where you can ask any question to get answers in real time for smarter training.
Make that footwork a little more sharp.
Coaches or players can create custom workouts in just minutes. Hit your on-court skills or basketball IQ or even strength and conditioning. It can be done on the Ballology app. Compete with everything you do on the Ballology app through our workout leaderboards. Elevate your game with the Ballology app. Download it for free today.
Well, Coach, I'd love to know if you had to pick three characteristics of great coaches, and you've played for some, and you've worked for so many. Grant McCaslin, one of my favorite people, and I would have loved to play for that guy. I think he's the kind of guy that it gets players to want to run through a brick wall for him. So you've been around those types of leaders. What are those three characteristics if you had to choose three?
Yeah, I think, I've obviously worked for great coaches. You could go so many different ways. I think there's a lot of successful coaches that are different than others. And, I'd say the one piece that I've learned, and I knew obviously when I was playing and when I first got into coaching, but, the accountability, and these two words kind of go together, but the coaches that hold people accountable, but also aren't afraid of confrontation, is probably one of the biggest characteristics of a successful coach. And it doesn't always mean like the yelling and the screaming and the cursing, but when you're holding people accountable, there's going to be some pushback at times. And so you can't be afraid of the confrontation of that pushback, because people can tell you what they want. People want structure. And the guys and the players know when they have structure, how successful they are. And then when they go to a place that doesn't have the structure or the accountability structure, they yearn for it and they don't realize it until they don't have it anymore. So I think that's one big thing, that is really key for a good coach. Being adaptable is probably another thing that I'd say is a good one, because not every team you're going to recruit, you may have a style you recruit to. You may have, your best players may be a certain type of player, but if you're not adaptable to your surroundings, to who you're coaching on a year-to-year basis, especially nowadays, it's just so important. You got to adapt, and not necessarily changing how accountable you are or confrontational you are in those terms, but just adapting to the type of player you're coaching on a year-to-year basis is something that I think is really important and probably a little bit undervalued. Some guys that think, well, it's my way or the highway. Like, I think those work at times, but I just think with the transfer portal and everywhere it is now, like, I think you have to adapt to who you have on your roster and the type of players or style that you're trying to coach within that roster, because it may not always be the same. So I think those are two big ones. And then obviously I think, just being a communicator, clear, concise messaging. Look, I have a hard time concentrating for 3 hours for a practice. So we don't practice that long, or we won't practice that long. We haven't done it yet. But, so communicate, be clear, be concise. They only have a few seconds before their ADD's kicking in, right? So mine as well. So, really communicate with them. Tell them why you're doing something. This is why we're doing it. This is how we need to do it. And they can hear you. They can see it. And I think it's something that when you're able to do that, I think it gives the guys, and the players a little bit easier avenue to understand exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then they just go out there and they do it to the best of their ability.
I think you're right on the money with the communication being short, being crisp. The accountability piece, I think, almost links into that, but towards coaches, because I think if we were honest, most of us would say we talk way longer in practice than we think we do. So maybe it's having somebody time how long you're talking at a certain time, or recording yourself and listening back to it, watching the film and timing on your own. But in the moment, coach, how do you hold yourself and your assistant coaches accountable to keeping your communication concise?
Yeah, so we actually, we did it in kind of a joking way at Texas Tech, but when I would show defensive clips from either practice or the game, and Coach Linder would show offensive clips from the practice or the game, we would time each other to see who could be up there the least amount of time. And so, you have to get your message across, right? Yeah. You can't sacrifice your message because of time, because the message is still really important. So you have to get that point across. But the fluff and the unnecessary part of the communication, which is hard to get rid of, if you can do that and you can be self-aware of maybe, hey, I've been standing up here too long, or I'm looking at my guys in the eyes and they're you can tell they're fading, right? Yeah. So I think if you're able to do that stuff and have a self-awareness of it, can really help keep it short and concise.
Yeah, and I think the danger I always fall into is I repeat myself. I'll give the rules to the game, and then maybe something else, and then I'll repeat the rules to the game again, and then maybe even a third time. And what I need is somebody reminding me. And Tyler Costin had a great idea of, there's basically three types of, and I may be butchering this, Tyler, so I'm sorry, but there's three types of, sound bites that you want to give in practice. There's that 7-second where it's quick, it's in and out, it's a lot like a game. And there's a 20 seconds, but then there's a 30, and the 30 is maybe where you bring them in, but kind of keeping in mind those time limits. But I love the game that you and the assistant played. Did Coach McCaslin know that you guys were playing that game?
I think every once in a while, and we didn't do it every time.
Right.
There obviously is a time and a place for it. But we tried to do it, every once in a while to try to keep each other honest. But I mean, you said you feel like you're repeating yourself, but the quote that I always got is like, coaching is repeating itself. Like, that is a coach. Like, that is part of coaching. You have to continually repeat yourself over and over and over. And that's probably why coaches lose their mind every once in a while, because they're saying the same thing over and over again, and it gets frustrating and it gets tiring. But ultimately, that's part of coaching, is just repeating yourself.
I think you nailed it with the adaptability part, especially with how the game is today. But I think even for a high school coach, that you may think who you have coming up, from year to year, and you maybe have a style of play that you really like. But you got to think about, what does it really fit this group of guys? I can't be so fixed in my mindset there. Also, does it work in the district or the league that you play in? Because you can want to play fast, but if, like a buddy told me years ago, man, I don't think you have the horses to do what you're trying to do. Hurt my feelings, but I was too close to it. I needed somebody who could zoom out and really see that. So I think you're right on the money there.
Yeah, I mean, people always ask, at North Texas, we played, I think we were the slowest, or maybe the second slowest tempo in the country. And a lot of that had to do with, we took good shots and we didn't, play crazy, and we made people work when they were trying to score against us. Yeah. But you have to, like, people always ask Coach Mack, well, how are you going to play at the high major level? Well, we're going to play to win, and whatever we gives ourselves the best chance to win, we're going to play that way, right? Can you recruit a higher caliber athlete, higher caliber player at Texas Tech than you could at North Texas? Yeah, I mean, I think that's the truth, and I think
but so are your competitors too, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Can you be different in some way, or are you trying to be better at what they're doing? That's a tough
there's no
one.
question. Yep, exactly.
I love the connection between accountability and confrontation. And with the climate that you're in right now, how do you walk that line of, you want to hold them accountable, there's going to be some confrontation, but you also want to keep your players and you want to keep them, right? And even at the high school level, I want them to enjoy coming to the gym every day. But you're right. They got to have structure. But how do you walk that line between accountability and confrontation?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's relationships, right? I mean, if they know that you care about them, I mean, the old coaching cliche, they don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
I don't repeat that one very often,
But it's
it
so
is
true, though.
It is
Yeah.
true, and so like the relationship piece is important, but you can't like. There was a deal, man. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago on Twitter, and somebody in the Dallas media had talked about, or somebody had said something about how, well, you can't coach your players hard anymore. Like that's BS to me. You can coach them the exact same way you could always coach them. You just have to have a relationship with them. Yeah. Like I said, they do want to be held accountable. Now, is it easier to hold guys accountable and take them out for defensive mistakes than if you're yanking them out of the game for an offensive mistake? Absolutely. Okay. It's a lot easier to say, well, this is what you did wrong defensively, and this is what we have to do to correct it because it was a scouting mistake, whatever it may have been, right? If you take them out for offense, well, coach doesn't believe in my game, coach is holding me back. Like those things can be a little bit more prevalent in the players' minds, but you can coach guys the same way. It's overblown. It's completely overblown on what you can and can't do anymore. Now, how you treat players, that has changed significantly, and for the better, mind you. But you can still hold them accountable. You can still coach them hard. They all want to win. They want to do what you put them in place to do. They just want to know why, and ultimately that's why you got to do it as a coach. You got to tell them, and you got to hold them accountable to it.
Coach, I love that. I reject the idea that you can't have discipline and still have fun in practice.
Yep. Exactly.
That those two things can't exist. And you're so right. The tough thing that's come from all of this is that we can't be transactional anymore. Like that's what it's for. The type of do this or else. Well, or
Yep.
else, coach, I'm just gonna go over here. That's a good thing that it has stretched all of us to have those relationships. That man, my first coach, not Coach Drew, one of our first meetings, he said, "Listen, it's the team here and you here." You see, like he put his hands like that, like a super wide gap in between those things. And I was like, okay. And he also said, I'm not your friend. You have enough friends. I'm your basketball coach. I agree with the friend part, but it seemed more like this isn't really a relationship. I only care about what you can do on the floor for me in that moment. You're right. Like that has changed, and that's a good thing, man.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's just overblown, and I think it's overblown from like the media's perspective, and I'm not talking bad about the media by any means, but just like I think it's the easy thing to say, right? Everybody can get up and leave at the drop of a hat, so it's the easy thing to say. Well, you can't coach them as hard anymore. I mean, that's not really true. They're going to leave if they want to leave, whether you coach them hard or not. And so why not coach them the best way to make them as successful as they can be and to make your team as successful as it can be as well.
Yeah, and make the big time where you are. Make this the place that they just can't imagine. If anybody thinks you can't coach them hard, just watch Houston. Watch Kellen Sampson. No, and they keep a lot of their dudes, but he is all over them. But it's almost like, again, the relationship is there. When I was able to have, a hoops talk with him, he talked about how much time they spend in the gym with those guys, the assistant coaches, and he's up there all the time. I think, how do we let our players know how much we care about them? There has to be a time investment there, because if it's just words, well, more is caught than taught. And I think you're right on the money.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.